Good morning. How's everybody doing? Adjustment. There we go. All right. So last Monday, we did the initial stack on a bill of Damascus. Started with 26 layers. Drew it out. I cut it up into 6 pieces. We've restacked it. It's now at 156 layers. That was just the initial forge press for this stack. So we're gonna start drawing it out and then it'll get cut up once again. So hope you guys enjoy. Hey, good morning. All right, so we're gonna do one more press on the flat dies and then I'm gonna switch to my combos. What's going on? All right, and so combo dies, these guys, drawing side, this will still draw steel out a little bit, but it's more clean up, flattening. Beached. All right. Okay, now I'm going to switch the dies out. Trend air shield. I haven't heard of those, Randy. Oh, you were, okay. I misread your original comment, Randy. Beechwood, okay. You know, I treat pretty much all handle material as toxic. So I'll wear my respirator all the time because most of it is. And the stuff that isn't like truly toxic is still not good for you. No, this is not a wood splitter. This is a manufactured forge press camera. So as you can see, it's made by Coal Iron Works. This is designed for forging. I know some people that have tried to do log splitters and make them, and some guys still use them. Most of the time I hear about them breaking. They're pretty dangerous to turn into presses like this. Forged in Fire. Yes, what about Forged in Fire? For the forged press, I think these are right around $7,000 plus delivery. They're not cheap. None of this equipment's cheap. Took a while to get all of it. Go compete. Well, I am currently competing in Last Blade Standing. I shouldn't say currently. We're in the build phase. We have 90 days to do our build. Mine's already done. I'm actually going to try and mail it out this week. And in February, that competition's going to start. So if you don't already follow me, please do, and watch out for that. It'll be here on TikTok, YouTube, and a couple other places. I'm not too sure. Hey, what's going on? So yeah, so Last Blade Standing at 64 bladesmiths across the country. We have some really big name bladesmiths in this competition, and some really great bladesmiths. I think we've got like 14 Forged in Fire contestants, something like that, and like 7 winners. So yeah, it's going to be a stiff competition. So today I'm working on the second phase of this billet of Damascus. Oh, right on. I'm guessing your name's Rob. Is that what you do for a living? Metallurgy? So this year's test, we have a wooden barrel chop, pool noodle slice. So I think it's a pool noodle with PVC in it, and it's supposed to replicate the bamboo mats that they cut. I guess it's pretty much the same kind of resistance. And then they have a 30-degree each way bend test. And that's the one that most people are concerned about. How do you move the layers? It's just moving the steel. And a lot of like patterns that you see, there's mosaic Damascus, there's regular Damascus. With regular Damascus, the patterns you see are either from drilling or pushing holes into the billet, and you grind it smooth. That's for raindrop. You can cut lines in it and then press it smooth, or cut like grooves in it, and that'll be your ladder. Or you can do a twist pattern. There's a lot of different ways. And then mosaic Damascus, that's a whole another long explanation on how that works. Feather Damascus. I have yet to do a feather Damascus. I probably will soon. I need to make a hot cut for my press. But basically, you're taking a billet and then you hot cut it down the center, which brings all the layers in, kind of like this. And then you forge weld it back together. So, all right. This thing is probably ready. see the layers? Okay, we'll let that heat up. We'll keep going. The bend test. I did a little test on mine. I'm not too worried about the bend test. Yeah, I don't usually wear gloves. A lot of the work we do as bladesmiths require us not to wear gloves. Part of that is being able to feel the heat. Like when we're grinding, we want to be able to feel the heat in the blade, usually in our thumbs. So we burn our thumbs all the time. Sucks, but it's part of the deal. Because we want to know that as we're grinding, that blade's not getting too hot, so we can quench it in water real quick. Well, it's not quenching, it's just cooling it down. And you know, for stuff like this, I don't really need gloves. I will sometimes, depending on what I'm working on, but usually I don't. Wearing gloves does inhibit your ability to swing a hammer and use the tongs. So it's one of the big reasons we don't like to do it. How much you drew it out of the hardening. I'm not sure what you mean about the hardening. So, yeah, so with this Damascus billet that we're working on right now, we started 26 layers last Monday, forge welded that together, drew it out till it was about 1/2 inch thick, then I cut it up into 6 pieces this weekend, cleaned it all up, and this morning I stacked it up, tack welded it together, soaked it in kerosene, put it in the forge, and then did our first heat. Now we're going to draw this out. I'm going to go to about 1/2 inch thick, and that'll be it. Then it'll get annealed overnight, cut up into probably 6 pieces again, depending on the length that we get. You do lose a lot of material doing this. Mosaic Damascus is even worse. Mosaic, you lose like 60% of your original material. So it gets expensive. So, and after that, I'm gonna have a bar of, it depends on how many pieces I cut it in. We're at 156 layers now. If we cut it in 6 pieces or 5 pieces, that's going to determine the number. Then I'm going to draw that stack out. I'm going to cut a chunk off of it that is going to be for a chef's knife, a raindrop Damascus chef's knife. So after I cut the chunk off and get it almost to size, I'm going to use these dies. Press those in, get those little divots in there all along the billet. I'm going to grind it smooth until I'm down to where the bottom of those divots are and draw it out. And what that'll do is that'll create that raindrop pattern. The other way you can do that is drill holes in your billet. You don't go all the way through. Usually you just go down as deep as the taper on the bit or the angle, maybe a little bit farther. And in that case, you drill your holes and then you press it flat. You don't grind it flat. So I don't do it that way. I do it with the dies, the raindrop dies. It works pretty well. All right, I bet we're probably ready. Let's see. Yeah. a little bit more length, not much. It's not going to move very fast yet. Once we get past about 1 inch thick, it's going to start moving a lot quicker. I don't know if we'll use the power hammer for this, maybe to do some cleanup, but we'll use once we get about a 1/2 inch thick, we'll use the rolling mill, make sure it's an even thickness the entire length of the billet, and that's when it'll be done and get annealed and ready to cut up. Yeah, so I have a lot of power tools, and it's not just to make things faster, but I'm a disabled veteran, and my back will not handle swinging a hammer to do a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. I still do hammer work, and I've got my anvil, and it's all set up, but a lot of my work is done with the machines. Oh, right on. Yeah, Forge and Fire is a fun show to watch. You do have to keep in mind, it is a game show. There's a lot of stuff that they do on there that, as bladesmiths, we don't do normally. I mean, nobody makes a knife in 3 hours. I mean, we just don't. That's you do it as a challenge. That's it. Not yet. Forge is running at 2,084 degrees. No, 2,086 degrees. So I have a temperature probe right in that little hole there. So I can monitor the temperature inside the forge. The reason that's important for me is I do a lot of work with copper and brass, and so I have to make sure I don't exceed a certain temperature, because otherwise I'm going to melt that copper or brass out of the billet. And I got something to show you guys. Give me one sec. Yesterday, and I posted a little video of this, but yesterday my wife wanted to come out and make something, and she ended up making a bracelet. We both did. I ended up making this. Oh, I don't know if the camera's going to focus on it, but that is brass Damascus, copper shim, and then the core is 3,200 layers of Damascus. Now this is the same steel that I use for my last blade standing competition sword. So this I'm definitely going to keep. Turned out pretty cool. So I don't wear much jewelry ever, but still. Yep. Yeah, I know some guys that do everything old school, cold forge, everything, but it takes them a lot longer to make things. Thanks, Joe. All right, Joe, I got something to show you. It's not quite done. I still got to do the handle, and I got to sharpen it, but maker's mark, but it's got some good flex to it too. You don't need to be quiet. No big deal. I like it when people comment, interact. It actually helps the feed too. You know, the more you hit the like button, you know, or share or anything like that, or do comments, that helps the engagement on the feed, and the algorithm will then take this live and put it on more people's For You page. What color would you draw from the hardness? Do you mean what color of would I quench at? I'm not sure what you mean. Straw blue and a red one. Okay, so I do my quenching in a kiln. That way I know the exact temperature. I don't go off a color of steel. Now, like for that bracelet, I hardened that bracelet. I just went off a color. I wanted kind of a medium to light orange, like tangerine color. And that's when I quenched. Yeah, I would say tangerine color. It's really hard to describe. And I also, it depends on the light that you're in too, because I forge with all my lights on, really bright. And so I've gotten used to that, but. For drawing, depends. I'll work steel all the way down to, you know, 1750, 1800 degrees. So you don't draw hardness. That's not how that works. As far as drawing out steel, moving the steel, you know, like I said, 1750 and above is what I do. I top out at 2200. You know, I usually work stuff around 2000 to 2100. You know, maybe a little over if I'm doing Damascus. Like right now, it's over 2100 degrees. I don't really care. That's not really, you don't pull hardness out to make toughness. You're going to temper it, which is going to, and there's a lot of technical terms. I don't have my book with me, or I could read them off, but after you quench, you're going to temper it back, and those are done in 2-hour cycles. Depending on the knife and the hardness you want, it will determine the temperature that you run those cycles at. For chef's knives, usually say 350 degrees for 2 sets of 2 hours. And that's going to take away that brittleness out of the blade and add some flex and you know, the toughness and strength. All right. layers. See how it's starting to kind of get a wave to it. Yeah, looking good. We are making Damascus. Oh, excuse me, Damascus. Let's see here. So tomorrow I'm going to be, it's going to be a grinding day. I've got a lot. I've got a sword that I need to get working on, and then a few chef's knives that I got to work on. Yeah, it's a billet for future use. I have some orders, like I've got an order for Japanese Gaido, which is a chef's knife in Raindrop Damascus. Is it Gaido or Guido? I think it's Guido. I'm not sure. Anyways, that one's in Raindrop Damascus, and then I have a few orders for my Death Kumai, which I don't have any Damascus ready for that. So I gotta get working on that too. Lots of fun. A lot of work is what it is. Hey James, good to see you. Yep, lots of crushing, a lot of work with the press. You can put stainless in Damascus. Or you can do stainless Damascus, two different kinds of stainless. Usually people use AEBL or Nitro V. Those are higher carbon stainless steels, and they will etch gray, not black, but gray in ferrochloride acid. I have not done stainless Damascus yet. I've done tons of stainless Samai. I've just never messed with stainless Damascus as of yet. It's on my list. I don't know. See how we're looking. Not quite. Getting close, but not quite there. Let's see, what else? Oh, Joe, since you are one of my Patreon subscribers, I want to let you know I have had video issues. That is why I should have posted one last week, but the program that I was using to edit and save those videos, I don't know, lost them, crashed something. They got corrupted, essentially. You can't view them. So the video I was supposed to post this week or last week on making Damascus is gone, along with another video that was already on there has disappeared. So I will be doing a retake of that, and also a couple other videos that I'm going to start working on coming up. So, and if any of you are interested, I do have a Patreon where I post instruction videos on what I do, how to become a knife maker. Yeah, there's so much I learned about metal. in general after getting into knife making. It's crazy. And even though as bladesmiths we have, you know, a limited number of steels that we will work with to actually make the knives, there's so much to know about the process and you know, how things work, why things work, you know, and displacing myths. I heard a weird sound, and so did my dog. What was that, Mishka? Huh? Good girl. This is Mishka, my service dog. All right, I bet that thing's up to temp now, so I'm gonna go get it and we'll do another press. Go, getting there. We're getting close to a 1/2 inch. We're going to start cleaning it up and making it straight and even. Two by 72 grinder is the machine for bevels. Don't overthink it. And you know, if you want to get into knife making, work on your freehand. Learning how to do bevels the proper way and will help. Using jigs, when I first started, I thought using a jig would help. It didn't at all. It was just as bad. And because I needed to learn the techniques, and I feel like most people need to learn that technique of actually doing the bevel by hand, and what works, why it works, that kind of thing. Which is a video I'm going to do eventually, or at least part of the video I'm going to do eventually. And I'm going to do a series for Patreon coming up. Actually, that'll probably be it. So I'm going to do a series coming up for Patreon where I'm going to do a knife start to finish. I'm going to film the entire process. I'm thinking it has to be something either with Damascus or a copper kumai, something like that. Maybe I'll just do a Damascus, keep it a little simpler. You like how I say Damascus is simple? No, it doesn't take too long. No, I do almost all my bevels by hand. Most bladesmiths do. I know some guys that have created some interesting looking machines to do bevels, and I'm sure they work, but I don't know. I've never used one, so until I do or I see the actual end result, I'm skeptical. The jigs that I've used and different methods that I've used only really started working for me after I learned what I needed to actually do bevels by hand, by freehand. And then I was able to translate those skills to the jig, and everything worked a lot better. It sounds backwards, but you know, I've talked to a lot of other bladesmiths and they say the same thing, so. Okay, next step, I think we're gonna go right over to the rolling mill. This way, because the power cord, bear with me. Power cord for my ring light gets hung up on everything. Like that works. All right, so we've got it flat, we've got it drawn out, it's a little over 1/2 inch, it's perfect. Now I'm gonna use the rolling mill. I should show you guys this side of it. So the way this works, this turns, and it turns, so it pulls things out this way. I use the bottom piece, clamps in hard on the steel, and it draws it through, which draws the steel out at the same time, makes it exactly the same thickness, or pretty close to exactly the same thickness, all the way through. So now, because we have a thick piece, there we go. Looks about right. So move the camera back over here. I don't think they would ever put one of these on Forge and Fire because it takes too long. It's not a speed thing. Oh, right on. Yeah, I use, I've got a sharpening system from Broadback that I really like. No, this is, we'll try. Oh yeah, that's right. tube back out. Yeah, see, my sharpening system costs over $1,000. But I do this for a living. Yeah, it would be useful, but with time constraints like you have on the show, power hammer or press is the way to go. I mean, it just, there's not enough time to use this. And really, I use it for doing billets. I don't use it for individual knives. Although I could, if I had a short knife that was thick, I could draw it out a little longer. Yeah. Although I'm not a fan of big blue hammers. I've known too many people with them that have had problems, like lots of problems. So I bought an Yang. And what I like about that is it's an onboard air system. So I don't have to hook it up to my compressor. Just put it on the floor, hook it up to power. And I did have to fill the base with sand, but overall it's really easy to use, and I haven't really had any problems with it. A couple of minor things, but mostly ended up being a lack of knowledge on my part. Just because I've never owned one before. Not yet. Getting there. A lot of little projects I got to work on. I'm looking at this big axe project I need to get back to as well. Oh, this thing is ridiculous. That's almost a 1/2 inch thick. It's for a special order. But yeah, this thing's gonna be huge. Big hammer on one end. It's gonna, he wanted Stormbreaker. And by looking at that on, you know, the movies or whatever, that's gonna be well over 100 pounds, couple 100 pounds, I'm sure, if you were to make that as steel. So we're doing it a bit smaller than what they have on the movie, but right now it just looks like a scuba fin. It'll look better when it's done. It's a heck of a project, though. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, like I said, this is what I do for a living. You know, I just started putting up new lights on the ceiling to help with not only with what I'm doing, because now I've got this ring light that was over my grinders to try to get rid of some shadows when I'm grinding bevels, and it helped, but it didn't fix the problem. These fix the problem. I don't have shadows anywhere, which is really awesome. So I've started putting them different places around my shop, like over here. They're not cheap, but they work so well I can't help it. But I'm doing that because I'm going to be doing more videos. I'm going to be focusing more on Patreon, YouTube, and of course TikTok. And I ordered a camera. It's a real entry-level camera. It was like $500 with a good lens. And so I'm going to start messing with that and try to put out some more high-end content for everybody, especially on the Patreon and YouTube. Those are going to be longer videos for the most part. TikTok. There are going to be some short videos on YouTube because they're going towards that as well. But because I focus not only on promoting my knife sales, but I also focus on teaching quite a bit. So hopefully we'll have some more people go over and try the Patreon, sign up and help support that, and yeah, increase the numbers on YouTube, which would be great. My goal is this year get this TikTok over 100,000. We're over 50,000 now. I'd love to double that, but we'll see. Oh wow. See, I would love to have ceilings that high. They have some light systems. I've only seen them in videos. Another maker I follow has them, and they're these big octagon umbrellas, and they hang by a wire, and you can adjust the height. And he'll adjust them all the way down to like a few feet above the ground for doing photography and stuff. Really cool. They have to be ridiculously expensive though. But see them just here remote, and they all just kind of. Scale off here if I can. So I'm being really careful to make this as flat and as straight as possible, because it's going to make my job of restacking it a lot easier. Yeah, you know, and I have 10-foot ceilings, so something like that isn't anything I'm ever going to do. But if I had 20-foot ceilings, depending on the cost, I would probably do those. They're just super cool, and I can really see how helpful they would be, especially with what I do. All right, so I need to change out to the flattening dies real quick. Let's put the camera over here. I'm going to straighten out the billet on the press because it's got kind of a little wag to it. So I'm going to straighten out the billet on the press, just the sides. And I'm going to go back over that rolling mill, get it through there a couple more times, and then that billet's going to be ready to anneal and cut. Doing this is also going to take a bunch of bore scale off of the faces, you know, the main flats on this billet. Hey, you too. Have a good one. Hey there. 3 Vikings Knife Works. How you doing? Well, the first machine I got was a grinder, 2x72 grinder. I think I invested like $800. It wasn't a super expensive one. Wasn't quite a manufactured one. It was still technically a home built, but the guy who did it, he's like an aircraft engineer. Like, he really knew his thing, but he kind of got out of grinders. And when I found Broadbeck and talking to other bladesmiths, that ended up being what I got. But going back to when I started, I got the grinder first, then I bought that, and at the same time I built my forge. Bought the anvil, but yeah, the grinder was the first thing was it the first thing I got? I think it was. No, it wasn't. I take that back. It wasn't. The first thing I got was my anvil. I did it kind of backwards. I got my anvil, the forge, and then the grinder, I think it was. And then I got the press. So initial investment into it, not including the press, before the press, I only had about $4 or $5 grand into this. The press was like 8 delivered. But yeah, the price of everything went up significantly, especially last year's because I've barely taken any money out of this business. Most of the money goes right back into the business to buy, you know, disposables like belts and propane and upgrade equipment. And hopefully this next year I can start actually putting some money back into my pocket and reimbursing myself for what I've spent towards this business. But we'll see. You know, and Toby, if you're interested in getting into knife making or being a bladesmith, there is a difference. Bladesmiths, forge, knife makers don't. Either way, buy a 2x72 grinder first. That is the first piece of equipment you should get. I recommend Broadbeck. I am not sponsored by them, but they should sponsor me. I mean, hell, I talked them into giving me a banner. But here's my Broadbeck. I've painted it black and pink, which are my company colors. You can get them in blue, which is cool. You can buy a setup through them. I think it's just shy of $4 grand right now, and it comes with almost every attachment they have. And the attachments are a necessity once you get further along in this. So if you can, save up like $4 grand and buy a good grinder like Broadbeck. They do offer a payment plan now. I saw that too. So check them out. Broadbeck Ironworks. I think that shows up backwards on here, but still. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Also, YouTube's great. You will find some good stuff on there. You will also find some bad stuff, some misinformation, and some bad techniques, things that people think are right. I'm guilty of that too, especially earlier on, you know, my first few videos, doing things that we think are right, but there's a better, faster, cheaper, easier way to do it. So kind of watch out for that. I do have a Patreon, so I got to plug that. And with my Patreon, when you subscribe to it, you get access to a bunch of videos. I don't have a lot of videos right now, but I am working on that to get more videos on there. I do have some that are free to view, and I did have an issue where one video is just gone. And the video I was supposed to post last week also got corrupted and is gone. But since then I've switched. That was a video sharing and editing program. Since then I got rid of that because it's garbage. And hopefully I won't have that problem again. But if you want to check out the Patreon, go to my website, woodsonKnifeco.com. Up in the top, you'll see a link to my Patreon. And basically you subscribe to that. That gives you a bunch of, depending on what level you subscribe to, it gives you a bunch of access to different videos and different things. But yeah, check it out, please. If you subscribe to that, it helps support me, it helps support the business, and I really appreciate it. A truck receiver? Oh yeah. All right, I'm gonna straighten this thing out. Turn this. So I'm going to go in at an angle and use as much surface area as I can. Now we've got this nice and straight both ways, but that what we just did mess with the thickness in certain areas. So I am going to run it, I'm going to get it nice and hot again, I'm going to run it through the rolling mill. Now, do I actually have to do that? No. I could call it quits right now. It's just going to mean I'm going to have to do a little bit more grinding. I'm going to lose more material on the back end of this. So when you are making Damascus or anything like that, you have to clean off all the forge scale. It's got to be bright, shiny, perfectly clean steel, acetone, all that. By doing this, it's going to make that grinding process a lot faster. Well, the reason I say buy a grinder is twofold. One, you make something, you're going to spend a lot of time researching, developing it, money on building it. All that time you could be spending making what you really want to make. Now, if you want to make tools and equipment, that's fine. But if you want to be a knife maker and a bladesmith, I recommend really considering buying it. One, you're supporting other makers, you're supporting other small businesses, but you're also getting a quality tool that's going to have a good resale value. So if you do quit or something happens and you have to quit, you can sell it and make most of your money back. Also, with the research and development that they have put into this, there's no way you're going to touch the quality, especially not making your first one. I know guys that have been making grinders, home builds forever, and you can't touch the quality of a true manufactured grinder. There's probably some people out there that have, and they've probably built a bunch and they know exactly what to do. But in my opinion, the easiest, the most efficient way to do it is go to the professionals, buy the equipment they recommend, and use that time you saved to, work on your craft. right, have a good one. But I don't hate on anybody for not, for making their own stuff and not buying it. I do that with certain things, like my ceiling air filter system. I made that. You can tell. My forge, I built that. But I did those early on in this project. As I got the money, I was able to purchase pieces of equipment. This was not a professional built piece of equipment from a business. It was from another maker. But there's nobody that makes these in an industrial sense. Not that I know of, at least. But I just, like with my press, I know guys that have built those. I did not want to spend the time and the money to do all that. It was a lot more efficient to just buy it. Hey, how you doing? Toby, that's what I like to hear. That's one of the main reasons I do these lives on Monday. It's not just to get the word out about my business. It's because I really enjoy helping people that want to get into knife making or bladesmithing. And I'll tell you what I've told other people in the past. If you have any questions, reach out to me through the website. Check out the Patreon. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer, or at least point you in the right direction. When I was first starting out, I wish I had that. I had quite the opposite, and I'm mostly self-taught. And I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time learning things that were just stupid simple. That I look back and know that it would have taken a bladesmith or the guys that I was going around asking, it would have taken them 10 seconds to explain it. But it took me weeks to figure it out on my own. And tons of money wasted in materials. So I have a big problem with that, obviously. All right, let's get the forge scale off. So that's just a horse brush. Little warm air. Let's see if I can get it out. Okay. All right, there we go. That is 156 layers of Damascus right there. You can see some of the layering. Doesn't look like that, but those are actually the layers of the pieces we as forge welded together. And inside those, each one of those had 26 layers. Toby, no problem. So yeah, so now this is ready to anneal. It's pretty straight enough. Oops. So another thing, I'm going to shut the garage door real quick. Bear with me. So another thing to think about when it comes to knife making, bladesmiths, we don't make mistakes, we make smaller knives. And here is a great example. Oh, I don't have the piece of it. There you go. There it is. All right, so I have been working on some W2 blades with Hamones, and I've got this guy. It's actually got a bend in it. It's probably not ever going to be a knife. I don't know. I could straighten that out. I did snap tests. So it had a small crack. You can see that black spot right there. So it has a small crack. And when I noticed that during hand sanding, I was like, okay, well, I'm either going to cut it off, break it off. I figured, let's do a snap test, break it off. I wanted to see the grain structure, which looks great. And then we're going to reshape the knife. So it was this long. Had an issue, and there's no other cracks. I have inspected it thoroughly. Cracks are very rare for me, but things happen. So now it's a shorter knife, and I'm gonna blue back it, straighten it back out, and this will be a nice brisket knife still. But with that issue, just snap off the end, and really, if I was going to do it over again, I'd probably just cut the end off. But that's the kind of thing as knife makers we run into is we'll have a little mistake or a little issue, and where the skill really comes in is how to fix that issue, how to make it disappear. So it might still be there, and it's not a structural problem, it's a cosmetic. It might still be there, but you can't see it, you can't tell. And that's one of the most important things to learn as a knife maker, I feel. So, but all right, everybody. So I'm actually going to call it a day. My little one's homesick, and my wife's watching him right now. But we got to take him in to get him checked out. We think he's got ear infections again, and he just had double ear infections 2 weeks ago. So. Yeah, it sucks. He started getting a fever last night, and so yeah, we're gonna take him in, see what's wrong. Yeah, make it look intentional, Randy. That's right. That's right. So, all right, everybody. Hey, thank you for watching. I will be back live probably tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do more lives during the week, and yeah, watch out for my videos. And when you see them, make sure you like, comment, share, please help those videos grow. Hey, appreciate it, everybody. Yeah, ear infections suck as a kid, and it seems like kids get them all the time now, or we just know how to diagnose them better. That could be it. I don't know. But yeah, I feel for him, and he's been wanting me to be inside all morning. So I'm gonna go make him happy as I can, and hopefully get him taken in and get some medication. Thanks, everybody. All right, hey, everybody, thank you for watching. If you don't already follow me, hit that follow button. Also, go check out my other videos. Again, like, share, comment on all of them if you can. I really appreciate it. As always, be kind. Much love, and have a great week.